and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for another episode of the Bill Crane Report with my friend Dwayne Weiss.
Time marches on. We come back.
Yep.
Good or bad.
Like a bad penny.
That's
we keep
right.
on turning up. Well, Dwayne, you and I, before the camera went on, were talking about the dumbing down of America.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a few things here that we can reflect on.
Okay.
Survivor on TV.
Oh, Bill, you hit, I don't know. If you're a Survivor fan, I'm sorry. I think it's the stupidest thing ever. In our house, it's sacred.
But, I better watch what I say.
Well, you can say it because I've said it before. I take a book and go out in the kitchen. I can't even listen to
That
the
thing
damn
has been on for 39 seasons.
Oh, it's been huge. It goes on and on and on.
And it's insidious.
I think I have a theory about that show. I'm probably all wrong because I'm usually wrong about all my theories.
Me too.
But they're fun to have. I tell her, I says, I think the first one or two were probably real. Then after that, they started scripting stuff.
Oh, sure.
And they put a storyline in for these people to follow. I said, look what happens today. You got, 25, 30 people show up for that thing. Every single one of them's got teeth like a Hollywood actress or actor. There's not a tooth missing. There's not a gray or yellow tooth, and everything is just perfect. They're all perfect bodies for the most part now.
And they get makeup and hairdos on this island. How's that work?
How the hell's that going on? I said, and they got these. I said, it could be a good show if it really was Survivor.
Yeah, but it's
I
not.
said, why don't you just take them and put them on an island and say, you're going to be here for 30 days, survive. Eat snakes, bugs, whatever you got to do, and whoever the last one quits.
It has all the honesty and drama of the WWF.
That's exactly right. Yep.
The Bachelor program.
That one, we've never watched that. Or
24,
I haven't, but
24 seasons it's been on.
It's amazing though. You really
American Idol.
Another one.
18 seasons.
Yep.
But here's the one that tops them all. Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my God.
Has been on for 28 seasons.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Out of those last three, I maybe saw one of them one time. I just can't watch them.
If this is entertainment, if this is what the masses want,
Yep.
then we're in trouble.
What about that stupid singing one where they're dressed up in costumes or a mask or something?
Oh, that's a new one.
Yeah, that's dumber yet.
Well, they're running out of ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like, do you remember Ted Mack's Original Amateur
Oh, yeah, Original
Hour?
Amateur Hour, yep.
Yeah. Now, what was wrong with that?
Nothing.
No. It was honestly portraying.
And it fit at a time where people were content to watch ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
I don't know. But I get some more examples here of, well, here's another one that got me going. Boy, oh boy, we're going to be living high off the hog come January 1st.
Are we?
With a 1.6% increase in Social Security.
I was going to ask you, did you order your new BMW?
Man, I'll give the electric motorbikes.
You getting? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. A Holly.
I was thinking about maybe this afternoon going up to Herb Chambers there and put it down on a new 350 SL or XL for Lexus.
That'd be nice.
The new Lexus.
Yeah.
With all that, what are we going to do with that?
Well,
all that money.
I figure 2 loaves of bread and maybe a 6-pack of beer, and that'll be about it.
That's going to be about it. I think what the average says is about $24 a month.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think they said the average payout is $1,503. So if that's the case, 16 halved is 24 bucks.
Mm-hmm. But the whole thing is that it's based on an erroneous statistics.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on what cost of living allowance, cost of living, what it costs goes up.
Yeah.
And our things are not going up that high, but except for seniors, health care
Healthcare goes up.
It's huge.
Rents go
Yeah,
up.
and rent's going up. Yep.
Yeah.
So we get disproportionately
Yeah.
kicked
Oh,
here.
yeah. Well, the elders take it in the neck.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Obama years were the worst
Yeah.
because they took the interest rate down to nothing.
Yep.
And of course, the savings rates went down to
Too.
nothing.
And seniors
That's
depend
right.
on that
That's-
savings that they've got.
They depend on getting 5 or 6% for
Yep.
their money. They squirrel it away, and that's what keeps them going. Well, getting nothing in interest meant they had to tap into their capital. Now, for 8 years of that, man, that was murder.
Oh yeah. Look at now a few are given like some CDs as either a 2, 2.25,
Yeah.
2.15. But even that, there's all kinds of if, ands, or buts hooked onto them. I've said this before. When I was 8, 9 years old, I wanted this Zebco 33 fishing reel, and it cost $20, and I saved up all summer for it. And I had a savings account, and this was 60 some years ago, and I got 5%.
Yeah,
60 some years ago.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Well, now, sometimes sorting out the truth is a difficult thing.
You betcha it is.
But I think maybe this time we're going to have a little easier go of it. Of all the despicable people on TV, Matt Lauer was just about one of the most despicable of the whole bunch.
Yep.
And he was hitting on all the women at NBC, and they finally, a bunch of them complained, he got fired. Now, coming out of the woodwork is a woman by the name of Brooke Nevels. And she makes the claim in Ronan Farrow's book, Catch and Kill, about why Lauer was fired, that he raped her. Okay?
That now you're getting serious.
Yep. Now, Lauer, in a letter provided to Variety, called Nevels a fully enthusiastic and willing partner in the encounter. He says he had an extramarital affair with Nevels, which continued after the Olympics. And I guess after this article was written, she said, well, yes, I did continue to date him.
Yep.
But I had been terrified. I'd been traumatized, and I was afraid to say no to him. Now, does that sound
No.
like a woman that was raped?
Not to me, it
Course-
doesn't.
Now-
I don't know. Now, again, we're
Well,
speaking from a different perspective.
That's
here,
right.
So they're going to
And
say, well,
you
you
know
guys
what?
don't know about that.
I only know of one woman that was raped. And she was a mental basket case afterwards, and I can understand that.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, so I believed her anyway, because she was talking in circles. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But how does a woman that was raped by this guy then enter into a fairly long relationship with him, as though nothing happened?
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It always throws through doubt in my mind years ago already when these things would happen and go on and on and on. And there are cases where there's something called the Stockholm Syndrome. If you were
Right.
abducted and held hostage, and then at some point you kind of
Gravitate
towards them,
yeah,
like
your-
Patty Hearst started out,
Yeah.
I think, that way, and then she kind of
Yeah.
became part of that Symbolize Liberation Army or whatever it was. But that's a mental process that goes on.
It is.
But this is hard to buy. I'm somewhat of a skeptic on a lot of things.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Now, You know that old story about good things? Bad things always happen to good
Good people, right?
Yeah. Well, here's a case of bad things happening to bad people.
It's karma.
Cuba is battling a plague of giant,
Oh, boy.
disease-carrying
Snails.
snails.
I
Yep.
saw that.
Up to 8 inches long. And they're everywhere. They think they came. Well, first of all, the kids are being kept indoors due to the danger of infection from the snails, which can transmit a potentially severe brain infection and an abdominal disease. First detected in Cuba in 2014, is now right around Havana, is now in every one of the island's provinces. It's not known how the snail arrived in the nation.
You know what I see there? They're going to be in the Everglades. They're going to be in Florida before long.
Yeah, I don't think these suckers can swim, though, but
Well, they'll
they
get
can
there.
certainly attach themselves.
Well, that's how they probably got to Cuba,
Yeah.
is by. But when I saw that, I said, "Oh, it's too bad. They carry disease and stuff." You imagine the escargot you can make there. But I don't know.
Plates full after plates
Well, you only
full.
need one.
So I'm going to skip here to a couple of other things that really have bothered me. A nurse at the VA hospital in Bedford diluted morphine doses to veterans under her care in hospice and may have increased one patient's suffering the day before he died.
Wasn't she the one that then she stole the?
No, she was stealing the morphine
yeah.
because she's an addict.
Yep.
You know, this is good. I'm sorry about this, she wrote in an email. I'm a better person than the behavior I displayed leads you to believe.
You know,
Really?
Yep. Well, no. You know,
I mean,
these, they're not deathbed confessions, but Johnny-come-lately confessions when they get caught.
yeah,
I don't put stock in any of them. If you were so sorry and so contrite about this, and you walked into a police department and says, "I robbed an old lady last week and I really feel sorry for it," that's sorry. That's contrition. But to get caught and then say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," that's not. You're not sorry. You're sorry you got caught.
that's right. That's exactly right.
Yep.
A further investigation of records from the Department of Public Health by agents revealed Noftel, that's her name, previously resigned from her 29-year job at Tewksbury Hospital after being charged with failure to follow appropriate procedures when wasting narcotics on 60 occasions, placing patient safety in jeopardy. She was stealing narcotics. A prosecutor did not request detention for Noftel, and she was released ahead of a probable cause hearing tomorrow, October 16th. You know, if there is one person that deserves to be behind bars, it's this terrible woman. How many guys or ladies in the VA died because of her?
And needless suffering on top of
Yes.
that. Yep.
They
absolutely.
were in hospice care, and she was cutting their doses in half so she could take them.
That's cruel beyond belief when you
It
really
is.
look at it.
It really is. And to release her
Yep.
on parole, on probation, is ridiculous. This is the state of crime enforcement today.
Oh, absolutely. It's sad.
I'm surprised they didn't give her a medal. Now, here's another one. Haverhill. A Haverhill registered nurse pleaded not guilty Tuesday to charges she took and tampered with morphine for patients, including an 89-year-old hospice patient. Brianna Duffy, a registered nurse who has worked at various professional staffing agencies, is facing 1 count of tampering with a consumer product and 1 count of acquiring a controlled substance by fraud, deception, or subterfuge. She was released on a $10,000 unsecured bond after her arrest. I mean, the guy that she's accused of stealing from, she took his morphine, which the patient needed every 4 hours for pain control. She allegedly removed the morphine and diluted the bottle with another liquid. The lab tests revealed the morphine bottle only had 26% of the prescribed concentration of morphine, causing unnecessary pain and bodily injury.
Yep.
And then it goes on. She did it before, too, in 2 other cases. I mean, she faces a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison, a $250,000 fine, and 3 years of supervised release if convicted. She deserves it.
Yeah.
But you know what they're going to say?
Oh.
She was not a criminal. Don't you understand? She's
right.
an addict. She's a sick woman.
And now she's sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Imagine if that was your father or mother, or my father and mother, that she was doing that to.
Bill, those kind of scenarios are so sad.
Yeah.
When you think about them.
I can't help it. I'm addicted. Yeah.
You know, there was one thing that we were talked about before about the seniors getting the short stick all the time. Believe it or not, the city of Attleboro is actually taking a step to relieve some of the problems. You know that they're involved in a $270 million school, and they're looking at the cost. Well, they actually have a proposal to give the seniors a break on that price increase. Instead of forcing them out of their homes and everything else, at a certain age, you're going to be exempt from that 2.5 or whatever that special override that they have.
Yeah.
I think that's a damn good idea.
Well, I think it is too, and Norfolk's going to be
not
faced,
just because we're seniors.
but it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Some of these people said, "Well, we already built one school, the seniors,"
Yeah.
and some of them said, "I've built 2 now.
3.
This is the 3rd one you want me to build. You know, this is enough's enough."
That's exactly right. And you know, it's the fair thing to do. The seniors are living on a fixed income and crappy 1.6% increases per year. And the cost of these foolish schools goes up. I mean,
Exponentially.
yeah, I mean, you're talking some of the schools being built now, Massachusetts, $100 million.
Attleboro's $260
Yeah.
million. I remember a few years ago, it wasn't all that long ago, when they were aghast at Newton North or Newton South was going to spend $56 million on a school there. People are going, "Oh my God, 56! Attleboro's looking at 5 times that."
And this town is going to be faced with it too. The population in this town is exploding.
Yep.
And they're going to be coming to town meeting, and we need 2 new schools or something
absolutely.
like that, and blah, blah, blah. My kids can't learn in a school that's 14 years old.
Yeah.
You know, they need a modern school.
Oh, did you read about what they're looking to put into the Attleboro school?
No,
Atriums,
atriums, oh yeah.
second open atriums with 2 and 3 stories high, with trees growing inside
Maybe
because of the
monkeys
skyline.
too, and
Probably.
flip around from tree to tree, and birds.
It's crap and fountains in the school, stuff
Yeah.
that doesn't mean anything. It's just a waste of money. I never could understand why they don't take their plans. Now they'll spend North Attleboro's talking about just drawing up plans for tens of
$1 million.
millions. Yeah, eventually tens of millions of dollars.
Oh, God.
But the state should have these plans set because they've always
do.
they?
They have cookie cutter schools.
What is the matter
know
with
what?
picking A and taking it
Don't
and doing
want
it?
one.
Yep.
We don't want one of those things. It's a stupid, ugly square box. We want something that flows.
Yeah, that's
and is not a blight on the landscape.
a representative
but
of the
it's
city or the town. Yeah.
beautiful. It's like, yeah. I mean, give me a break. Like the kids going to learn any better
No.
in a
It's not
Frank
gonna make
Lloyd
any
Wright
difference. Yep.
school than they are in a cookie cutter school? Give me a break. Well,
we've gone into empire building on some of these things, is what it is.
yeah. Oh, of course it is.
Absolute.
Of course it is. Yeah. Well, the more things change, the more they stay the
The same. Yep.
This is a prayer. O Lord, how long must I call for your help before you listen, before you save us from violence? Why do you make me see such trouble? How can you stand to look on such wrongdoing? Destruction and violence are all around me, and there is fighting and quarreling everywhere. The law is weak and useless, and justice is never done. Evil men get the better of the righteous, and so justice is perverted. Does that sound like today to you?
Yeah. Oh,
Exactly like today. It's from the book of Habakkuk, from the Old Testament and Bible. It was written in the 7th century BC,
it's certainly apropos today.
almost 3,000 years ago.
Yep.
And this describes perfectly, that was the first reading Sunday.
Okay.
But it describes perfectly what's going on today.
Right.
Another oldie but goodie. FDR's Four Freedoms.
What's that?
FDR, Franklin
FDR, okay.
Roosevelt's Four Freedoms. Freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, freedom from fear. So, how well have we done on those? Freedom of speech. Yeah, look at college campuses. Look at the Boston Globe, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the major networks on TV, their newscasts at 6:30. All of them espouse only the liberal point of view and do not discuss or report on the conservative point of view.
You can if you could do such a thing, something like freedom of speech, you'd see it over the years getting up and up and up. Then all of a sudden, probably I'd say 10 years ago, it started to level out. Now we're going down.
Of course we are.
We got this Antifa group.
Yeah.
We've got the Black Lives Matter group. We got the Me Too group. These people are all suppressing free speech.
The ACLU.
You suppressing. Yep, exactly.
And then on the interview shows on TV on the major networks, the late night TV shows.
Yep.
They one point of view only.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
And they mock our values.
And if you come in with a second point of view,
you're dead meat.
they're not going to let you.
Yeah. So much for freedom of speech.
Well, Sunday we went to see some friends and we discussed that. And he's a retired professor, and he agreed. I had said this before. He said the only difference is some of these groups out there on academic campuses, they're wearing the wrong color shirts. They should have brown shirts.
Brown shirts, absolutely.
Just like they did in 1930s.
That's exactly right.
Because they're doing exactly what the young Nazi party did in the 30s to suppress
20s
and 30s to suppress any contrary view.
Folks,
that's exactly what they're doing.
For you, especially you younger people, we have a big following among the young people.
Oh, I know.
They love us. I know you're not taught this in school. Heaven knows what you're taught, but the Nazi Party in Germany came to power in the 30s, in 1933 to be exact. They were led by Adolf Hitler. And how they came to power, how they grew their movement, the National Socialist Workers' Party, Nazis. They had a private army
Yep.
of brown shirts. And of course, in those days, there was no TV. Radio was in its infancy. So a lot of political activity took place on street corners
Yep.
after supper or on weekends during the daytime, where Hitler would make a speech and the brown shirts would be there. Anyone that dissented, the brown shirts jumped on them and pounded them. And the streets belonged to the best fighters.
Yep. Exactly.
And that, they are the ones that initiated the end of free speech. Because when Hitler was speaking, there was no debate. And if there was any raucous uproar from the crowd, the brown shirts ended it very quickly. They used to beat up the communists, the liberals,
Anybody that disagreed with him.
anybody at all.
We saw some of that this past weekend when Trump was speaking in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
The group outside, instead of saying, well, he's got a right to his opinion, we got a right to ours.
We're going to hold up a sign, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. Oh no, they gotta throw rocks. They gotta attack the police. They gotta pound on people's cars trying to get out of the garages. They act like animals. They acted like the Nazis did.
That's exactly right.
The only thing they didn't have lit torches.
And I am sick, sore, and tired of people saying, you conservatives are Nazis.
No. The conservatives are not the problem here.
It's the liberals that are the Nazis. They want to stop free speech. Anyway, it's a disgrace. And if you turn on late night TV, it is a love-in
Oh yeah.
with all the folks that champion the liberal
Oh
causes.
my God, it's
I think Granny Warren must be on there weekly.
AOC's on there a lot.
Yep.
Yep.
Freedom of worship. The same liberals above that are stomping on freedom of speech do that what they can to minimize religion, and along with the ACLU want it removed from daily life, from mainstream America, off the screens, off TV, and out of schools. It is, so again, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of worship. And freedom from want. Well, we do a pretty good job of feeding the population.
Yeah, we do.
There's housing them and clothing them and all that.
There's very few people actually starving in this country.
But then freedom from fear. Anti-Semitism is rising its ugly head again. Anti-Catholicism is also a target. And the family unit, which is the strength of our society, is in great danger as they tear that apart.
That's almost crumbled now.
And the fetuses. A fetus in its mother's womb should be in the safest place in the country. And yet, a fetus in his mother's womb is in the most dangerous place in the country.
Yep.
The rate of abortion, and now it's, it's a girl. We didn't want a girl, we wanted a boy. So bango. This is wrong. I got a little flyer about abortion. Do you know that a baby's heart begins to beat in 18 days?
No, I can't say I did.
The brain coordinates movements in 43 days. In 8 weeks, all organs are functioning. 9 weeks, it has a permanent individual fingerprint. 10 weeks, sense of touch. 12 weeks, a baby can smile, suck his or her thumb, and make a fist. But the proponents of abortion say, well, look, it's just a hunk of matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just tissue. That's
Yeah. Baloney. Going to hell in a handbasket. That's where we're going. Scaremongering is another great thing that's reared its ugly head.
Absolutely.
Paul Ehrlich wrote The Population Bomb, published in 1969. It said, among other predictions, he predicted all forms of disaster. But the battle, quote, the battle to feed all of humanity is over. Hundreds of millions of people are going to starve to death. So, many groups that read this book panicked, and they started all sorts of things to stop people from having children, including forced sterilization.
Mm-hmm.
It caused panic and resulted in millions of people sterilized, often illegally, in Mexico, Bolivia, Peru, Indonesia, Bangladesh, China. And its one-child dictate forced massive abortions and sterilizations in China.
Yeah, that one child social engineering that China did has now come back and bit them.
And the problem here is that this guy, everything that he said was wrong.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of those over here.
And no one stood up and said, you're all wet.
No.
They just panicked. Well,
even Japan has a population crisis going right now.
Yep.
They actually have a thing in place right now that you get a couple hours off during the day by some companies to go home and see your wife. You know, just make a little whoopee. Maybe we get some more pregnancies going.
No, you come home and cooks dinner for them.
No, they want you to.
Oh.
Of course, that has nothing to do with old guys like us.
Yeah, right. So then we come to this story. This is from a column by Stephen Moore. A friend of mine's third-grade daughter came home from school a few weeks ago with tears streaming down her cheeks. My teacher says we only have 10 years before the oceans rise and we're underwater. Are we all going to die, she cried. That's a heavy burden to place on the shoulders of a 9-year-old. But gloomy stories of the coming apocalypse have become commonplace in schools, textbooks, churches, movies, and even children's bedtime stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the kids are generally taught that doomsday is coming because of global warming.
Yeah, and this 16-year-old girl, Greta Thunberg, a Swedish 16-year-old girl, she spoke at a United Nations panel. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We're in the beginning of a mass extinction. We only have 8.5 years to go. And of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says we have 10 years left to head off planetary destruction.
She would know.
Yeah. But Moore goes on to say, my parents had to overcome polio, the Great Depression, and Nazi Germany. When I was a kid, we had to practice bomb drills in school because of fear of the Soviets dropping nuclear bombs that could wipe out whole cities.
Drop and cover.
But to fill the young with false fears of mass extinction and so on is to ignore the true state of the planet. It isn't dying. The young should be celebrating what every objective measure shows. They are living at the greatest moment in the history of the globe. For those under the age of 30, listen up. You will live longer, healthier lives with more material wealth than any previous generation. You will inherit a world with less poverty, less disease, more leisure time, less pollution, less discrimination, and more opportunity to achieve your dreams and aspirations than any other generation. You're not inheriting a severely injured planet, but one in which a storehouse of thousands of years of accumulated human knowledge makes you capable of combating almost any conceivable problem. The whole history of modern times is for human ingenuity, innovation, and technological know-how to combat the challenges that mankind confronts. If you think global warming is a challenge, thank God you don't have to deal with smallpox, typhoid, tuberculosis, polio, or the plague. The Black Death in Europe killed 1 out of every 4 residents. Now that is an apocalypse. I'm an optimist and a realist. The next generation will figure it out. They will save the planet from extinction. And the really good news is there's a lot more than 8.5 years to come up with the right solution. You know, he hit the nail right on the head. Scaring children in school. By the way, that school teacher should be fired.
Absolutely.
But you know what? The school board will probably call her in and give her a raise.
Yeah.
Or him. Or whatever.
Kids are fed this crap. And I don't deny there's global warming. You can statistically prove that, but there's always been global warming and global cooling.
That's right.
It's not something that's just new, but we tend to look at things in our own time span. We look at things, well, what happens for 10 years or 5 years? Geological time is not like that.
Mm-mm.
It's thousands, if not millions of years.
Of course.
And over that time, you can see these waxing and waning on the temperatures. Now, it may be accelerated, and it may not be. We're not really sure because our time frame to look at it is not long enough to step back. And we can't take this little core and say, well, this has happened right here, therefore. Well, we don't know the therefore yet. And sometimes there's going to be global warming, and if there is, it's bad over here, but it's good over here. It's not all bad. I just saw now that the bluefin tuna, for example, are quite scarce. Now all of a sudden they're getting these bluefin tuna that are long and thinner. You know why? Because the waters have warmed up. Mm-hmm. They're now breeding off the Cape someplace instead of in the Caribbean, and they don't have to wait 5 or 6 years before they migrate up here. Yeah. Well, see, now they're moving in to take place of something else that was there that didn't like the warming.
Absolutely.
There's always this yin and yang or balance going on.
And you know, you're absolutely right. We concentrate. Our idea of long-range thinking in this country is, what do we have for supper tonight?
Yeah.
You know, that's about as far ahead as the average person thinks. Or maybe, I'll stretch a point. What kind of car do you think we should get next year when we turn this clunker in? Now, there's some long-range planning there.
That's long-range planning.
But you know, there was a mini ice age in the 1600s.
Yep, there was.
So, you know, it comes in ebbs and flows. Now, perhaps we've aggravated it somewhat. So it's incumbent upon us to look at the error of our ways and clean it up.
Yeah, it's not Armageddon. That's the whole point.
Not.
We're trying to. It's not total Armageddon. It's not. We're going to die. The sky is falling. You know.
Yeah, henny penny.
Henny penny. That's right.
But I'll tell you one thing we're also going to concentrate on is the pollution in the ocean.
Yep.
The ocean is a tremendous resource for food. And if we continue to pollute it the way we have, let me tell you, the fish aren't going to be there, the seals aren't going to be there, the tuna aren't going to be there, the lobsters aren't going to be there, and you better get used to eating roots and bark.
Yeah, but...
Unbelievable. Well, I have something. Let me just go right off onto another subject.
All right.
Way off the thing. Motivation under socialism. Socialism, you're going to hear a lot about it, folks.
Oh, yeah.
between now and the coming election. For you folks that aren't well versed in it, we're going to have a good time explaining it to you. Basically, socialism preaches for the common good. We need to level the playing field.
Yep.
One size fits all.
Yep. Share with everything. Everybody shares with everything.
But you know what? So if you have a company and you want to build a better mousetrap, no way. Build a mousetrap like Dwayne does.
Yep.
We're not going to build anything any better or throw Wayne's workers out of work.
No. We saw a classic. Well, that was actually communism, but it was socialism in its purest form. Back in the early turn of the century, when the socialist dictators moved into the Soviet Union, Russia used to be at one point was a great breadbasket of the world. They grow
Certainly was.
massive wheat fields and massive
The
crops.
Caucasus, yeah.
Then they got this idea, well, no more private ownership. Everybody's going to share. So they made communes and little farms, or farms, and then everybody shared in this. Well, the incentive to work that thing went down because you got to share whether you did anything or you didn't do anything. So pretty soon the production went down. I know I'm very oversimplifying this, but the production went down. Pretty soon everything else went down. Everything followed it. Everything collapsed on them eventually.
You know, you're absolutely right. I worked at the Foxborough Company back in my formative days as a pup. And I witnessed something over there that was incredible. Great place to work. The Bristol family were wonderful, wonderful people that owned it. They were just, it was a terrific place to work. There was this one department where a couple of my friends worked. I'd go over and have a cup of coffee with them from time to time. There was 4 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what they built was the innards that went into one of their controllers, an instrument.
Okay.
One of the 4 guys, a guy by the name of John, would keep an eye on the other 3. Walk over. Hey, Larry, what the hell are you trying to do? Kill the job? The rate is $38 a week for you. You got 41 of them built and you're still working.
Yeah.
What the hell? Whose side are you on? And then he'd go over to Gabba. You going to stop at 38, Gab? And Gabba would threaten him with a hammer, and John would go away. And then there was the 4th guy, and him and John were, oh yeah. But, so, where is the impetus for a young man to join that department, get a job along with those 4 guys, and then be constrained from doing a better job than them and getting his raises early and getting a promotion? You can't do it. John will hit you in the head with a hammer.
You see that in a modified form today in organizations like the MBTA.
Of course.
Don't do too much. Don't kill the job.
It's not your job.
Yeah,
Don't pitch in.
And don't help.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I forget where I was. Oh, I know. I was on a plant tour down in Mason Newland. Mm-hmm. And I was being guided around by a guy, and he was he worked his way up through the ranks. He was a union guy. And he was bringing me around, showing me, well, now this machine over here and everything. A guy, all right, saw that he had us, customers, talk, and he was talking to us. So he shut the machine down so that we could hear the guy better. Mm-hmm. He turned to him and he said, hey, that's not your machine to turn down. What are you doing? You can't touch that machine. Union.
Yeah, I saw that firsthand in Rochester, New York, with Kodak Company.
Kodak, yeah.
And you go in there, and they had this thing they would call dumping. If you exceeded the technicians, these were technical people, if you exceeded what the other members thought you should be not doing, if you were doing too much, when you were off, they would take your toolboxes worth of, and these weren't just hammers and screwdrivers, these things were calipers and expensive tools, and tip them over at night and scatter your stuff all over this huge place. It's probably 200,000 square feet. You'd spend the next 2 days looking for your expensive tools. That was a warning. Don't kill the job. Don't work too fast. Don't do this.
Yeah. Downstairs in the maintenance department, there was an electrician. Didn't get along with the rest of the guys. All he just wanted to do was work. He wasn't interested in the BS. At night, they'd hide his cot. Could be an eighth or a quarter of a mile out in the long building, behind some racks. He'd have to go looking for it every day. Keep him in line.
Well, we hit a guy's car one time. I worked on a can factory. We used to hoist to hook it up. We put it up on the platform. But that was to be funny because he had one of the new fancy little Volkswagens. And they were cute little things, but they were funny little things too.
Yeah. We had the same thing. We did the same thing in high school. One of the kids in our class got a Fiat 600. Now that thing, they introduced it in this country just for a short period of time.
Yeah.
It's about the size of a roller skate.
I remember that little Fiat.
6 or 7 guys picked it up. 3 in the front bumper, 4 in the back bumper, and carried it. We put it in the lobby where everybody comes in.
Or they used to raise them up just to the wheels, to the drive wheel. You couldn't see it when you got into it, and then you started. Of course, you weren't going to go any places. It just stood there and spun.
Oh, jeepers.
That's also, we used to add and take away his gas. Because he always, VW in those days, you got 20 miles to the gallon. That was a big deal for a car.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd always bragging he's getting 22, 23. So we started bringing gas in. And at night we'd be putting gas in his gas tank. Now he's getting 28, then 30, then 40 miles to the gallon. So we figured, well, now we'll start taking it out. All of a sudden his mileage is going down to like 6, 5, 7. He can't understand what's going on.
You guys were bad.
We were bored, is what it was.
Yeah. Hey, here's something. The AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety. Here's some key findings from this year's survey. Almost 75% of drivers support laws banning holding and talking on a cell phone. However, more than half the drivers, 52%, report having driven while talking on a handheld cell phone at least once in the past 30 days.
They don't want anybody else to do it, but they do it themselves. That's a problem with a lot of that stuff.
Nearly 66% of respondents felt that the police would catch a person driving 15 miles an hour over the speed limit on a freeway. Yet, almost 50% reported having done so in the last 30 days. Despite high rates of perceived danger and personal social disapproval regarding drowsy driving, about 27% of drivers admitted to having driven while being so tired they had a hard time keeping their eyes open at least once in the past 30 days. 27%.
Yep. They don't think of tired driving as being particularly hazardous. It's not like drinking and driving, but it is. You're starting to nod off. You're tired like that. You're just as dangerous. And I got to admit, there's been times in my life, back when we first got married, we used to drive long distances. And we used to start out once in a while after work and drive all night. And then towards that morning, I found myself catching myself, getting a little naughty.
Yep.
And we used to go, then we'd go on rest stop to rest stop and sit and take a 15-minute nap and go on again and then stop and do. That's crazy. I wouldn't, today we don't do things like
No.
that. You and I, because we're
You know,
older and we're.
I used to do the same thing, but I never got to that point where I was drowsy and falling asleep. But about every 2 hours, I would stop for a pit stop and a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 hours later, it was time for a pit stop and another cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I found myself able to keep rolling well that way. 2.5 billion people worldwide use Facebook.
5.
Already?
Time flies when you're having fun.
2.5 billion people use Facebook. I wouldn't know how to get on Facebook
You and me both.
or do anything on Facebook or how to act on Facebook. I have no idea what Facebook is, except my wife is a Facebook devotee.
Yeah.
She can spend hours on Facebook.
You folks are right. Bill and I are kind of dinosaurs when it comes to electronics.
More than kind of.
Yeah, we are dinosaurs. But we don't. I don't anyway. And I don't want to speak for Bill, but I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
No.
Once in a while, I said, I'd like to know this. I'd like to know that. And I said, but I can ask my wife. I said, look this up for me. Or there's a plus. My son gave us a invention that just amazes me, and that's Alexa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The home butler.
She knows more stuff.
Yeah.
You want to. We went to a movie a month ago, so I said, Alexa, what's playing at? She gave me the list. She says, would you like the Times? Yes, I would. Would you like this? Would you like the rate? Or would you like the reviews? How many stars? Yes, thank you. She knows. She can tell you what local restaurants have on for specials. She can tell you. It's scary what she knows.
Yeah.
And what I read is that she learns. She's got AI. She keeps on building on you ask her, and she tailors some of the answers to what you're interested in.
Yeah, she knows what turns you on.
Yeah.
Amazing.
My wife can't believe it. She knows me by name.
Good Lord.
She says, how does she know it's you? I said, well, there's only 2 of us.
Yeah.
Obviously, you.
She's taking a voice print of you.
Yep.
Ay, ay, ay. There is an estimated 3 million people in this country who spend 10 to 12 hours a day gaming.
3 yeah. I'm not surprised. That's like 1%.
Yeah. It is affecting human behavior.
Yeah.
It is destroying their ability to talk, listen, and understand one another.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Video games isolate people so they lose the ability to interface with others. Think about this for a moment. Men will lose the ability to approach and/or interface with women. And of course, with PC galloping forward relentlessly, and so that only women will be allowed to initiate contact. So dating, marriage, and childbearing will become a lot more difficult.
yeah. But the thing I find scary is the kids.
Yeah.
They spend so much time engrossed in the video aspect of their existence today. They lose that ability to contact, to look somebody in the eye and speak to somebody and carry on a conversation and just normal social interactions. So many of them, you talk to them and it's like talking to a zombie.
Well, yeah.
You get a, no.
And that's why these dating apps
Yeah.
are so prevalent, because people don't know how to approach other people.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. This is what we'll become. We're breeding a whole bunch of robots.
We are. We
Yeah.
really are.
And
No, I think the video world and aspect of it is wonderful. It brings so much knowledge and so much information to your fingertips so fast that you can learn so much more than you could before. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the things like used to go to a library and you have to go to the card files and dig and dig and dig and
The
an hour to find.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah,
Does anybody have an encyclopedia
No,
in
they're
the house
gone.
anymore?
You can't give them away.
No.
One, I guess we got to.
Well, folks, the time has flown by. It was like magic. We started talking, and here we are an hour later. So, I hope that you enjoyed our discussion of many things, and just can't wait for us to come back again real soon with more.
If you got something you want us to explore or talk about, or
Drop
even
us a
pitch
line.
in, let us know.
Give the folks here at the TV Center a call and say, you know what I'd like to have you have those two bozos talk about?
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah. And we'll be happy to do it. We have opinions on everything.
And if you're really sincere and dedicated to it, you might come in and sit between us.
That's right. Absolutely. And as I said, we have opinions on everything. And over 20% of my opinions have been found to be correct.
Almost mine, a little less than that.
All right, folks.
And if we don't know the answer, we make it up.
That's right. Wing it. So we'll see you next time. Enjoy the fall.
Bye-bye.